The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High 9 News are those The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. It is finally Friday, September 19th, and today is this is great, Jesse. Butterscotch pudding day.
Oh, dude, that's literally since I was like 3 years old, my favorite pudding flavor.
Such good memories of butterscotch pudding.
You know what else is good with butterscotch?
What's
butterscotch dipped cone.
Oh, that does sound good.
Mm-hmm.
That does sound good. Oh, man. It's also Talk Like a Pirate Day, matey.
Arr, matey.
We need a freaking parrot on the show.
Do you remember when you could went on Facebook? Maybe you weren't around Facebook for this, but when you could set it to pirate mode, and everything on Facebook would be in pirate language.
I think I kind of remember something like that.
Yeah, it was funny.
I think I remember that a little bit. It's also National POW MIA Recognition Day.
Oh man.
Yes.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Yes. Yeah. Much love to all the families of POWs and MIAs out there.
And may they all come home.
Yes. How you doing, Dr. Mark? Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us, as also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So thank you to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are going to kick this off with myself, I guess, today. Because you don't see Jenny, right? No Jenny?
No Jenny.
I'll introduce you.
Oh, this is Dr. Mark. All right, sweet. All right. I don't need an introduction, but I'm with it. I'll take it. I'm here for it.
A guy who doesn't need an introduction because everyone knows the highest Republican in the room is Jason Beck. There he is.
Yes. Look at that, man. Look at that. We got Dr. Mark. We got to get a soundbite of that, Elias. Dr. Mark saying the highest Republican. That is phenomenal. But I think you're really gonna like this. All the animal lovers I know are gonna like this story. I think it's a pretty good one. So because there was a study, you guys. That's right. A CBD nanoemulsion shows an anti-tumor potential in canines' mammary cancer cells, you guys. That's right. According to the research from Universidad de Chile, a cannabidiol, a CBD oil and water nanoemulsion, shows promising anti-tumor effects in canine mammary carcinoma cell lines. Did I get that right, Dr. Mark? Carcinoma? Yeah, carcinoma. Yes.
Yeah, it's basically breast cancer for dogs.
Got it. The formulation known as CBD NEM, N-E-M, was created to overcome CBD's poor solubility in water, which normally requires solvents like ethanol or dimethyl that can restrict safe dosing. By incorporating CBD into nanoemulsions using Myglool 812 oil and Epicuron 145V as a surfactant, the researchers achieved a stable and dispersible compound with nanometric size, spherical shape, and a strong negative charge for stability. The researchers presented their findings in a recent study published in the Journal of Pharmaceuticals, and in laboratory testing, CBD NEM delivered CBD slowly and consistently under both acidic and neutral conditions. Cancer cells readily absorb the formulation, and at 50 it's the U with the longer line on the left-hand side as opposed to the right-hand side, Dr. Mark. M. It significantly reduced their what is that?
Micro.
50 micro. It significantly reduced their viability while being less toxic to non-cancerous cells. Over a 20-day period, the nanoemulsion effectively prevented colony formation, induced apoptosis, reduced the proportion of cells in the G2M phase of the cycle, and limited the migration and invasion of cancer cells. The findings suggest that CBD NEM could provide a more effective and safer delivery system for treating mammary carcinoma in dogs and supporting future in vivo studies to evaluate its therapeutic potential, you guys. The study concludes by stating the following. To our knowledge, this is the first study to evaluate the effects of CBD incorporated into nanoemulsion CBD NEM on mammary canine cancer cells, with results that could support future clinical trials. Our findings indicate that anti-neoplastic activity at concentrations comparable to those previously studied in human breast cancer cells. Importantly, in this study, CBD NEM was obtained without the use of solvents such as ethanol or DMSO, employing low-energy techniques that are easily scalable. These formulations exhibited high stability and sustained release, and potentially resulting in prolonged effects that could reduce the need for repeated administration. The above hypothesis is supported with this paper because CBD NEM prevented the colony formation for 20 days of canine cancer cells, and CB NEM demonstrated preferential toxicity for cancer as a CF41.mg over non-cancer MDCK cells, and furthermore, CBD NEM prevents cell migration and invasion, and a key pathological aspect of tumor malignancy. And further research is needed to elucidate molecular mechanisms underlying the observed effects and the therapeutic potential in canine mammary cancer, you guys. Well, look at this. This is great news for Fido, and I can't wait to see what type of a biscuit you guys are going to choose for this story. Is it going to be a milk bone?
Elucidate is how you say that word, Jason.
Hallucinate. Got it.
Oh, elucidate.
Elucidate.
Elucidate. Yeah, you said I think elucidate or something. I forget what.
I'm sorry. I really try. I really enjoy these Fridays because I really get to help work on my reading with all these medical terminologies. So I do appreciate your guys' help with that a lot.
Well, there was a lot of complex terminology and jargon in there, so you did a really good job in getting through it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. T, this is super exciting because there's not just the issue of water insolubility of cannabinoids, right? You ever try cleaning your bong out with water?
It doesn't work.
Too well.
Yeah.
So cannabinoids are not water soluble, they're oil soluble. And so by putting them into a nanoemulsion, what you're doing is you're taking the oil droplet and you're using an emulsifier to basically emulsify it like milk. So milk is an example of an emulsified fat in water, right? You can't see through milk, right? It's white, right?
Yep.
You can't see through it. But you can't see through butter, which is a water and oil emulsion. But when you melt butter, now you can see through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing is that the nanoemulsion basically creates these particles that scatter light, which is why it looks milky.
Mm-hmm.
And what we know about cannabinoids is that they do have a rapid onset of activity when they're nanoemulsified.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also increasing the bioavailability because, like the authors accurately point out, these are not water soluble, so they're not very distributed through the body. Typically, cannabinoids will bind to like a fat binding protein or something else that's very, very hydrophobic because they don't just like to be planktonic in solutions like blood, which is water based.
Mm-hmm.
So this is super exciting because I'm involved in research in this area, and I love seeing articles like this because we know that the cannabinoids are active. Now, what this formulation is doing is it's basically emulsifying it in such a way that you're creating a very, very small nanoemulsion particle size that can get through cell walls and that can basically enhance the overall bioavailability and also produce a rapid onset of activity that you can actually feel.
Wow.
Thing about this paper when I read it is I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 authors on this paper, okay? 14 scientists on one single paper.
It's a lot of chefs in the kitchen.
It's difficult for 2 scientists to write a paper, let alone for 14 scientists to write a paper. So I think what that implies is that all these people think that this is super, super important, and they all want to be tagged to this very important discovery, which again is going to get other research groups and doctors around the world excited because, yeah, CBD has really terrible bioavailability. Even when you take a tincture of CBD orally, not all of it is being absorbed. But what you see here, again, is that not only are they able to show that it basically is taking a nanoemulsified version of CBD, where now all of the milligrams of CBD are going to be bioavailable. So you can use a lot less because now your effective dose is going to be just more economically used in the body. Yeah. And this is really cool because, again, I think that these kinds of treatments for cancer and for other brain-related disorders, I mean, this is mammary, which is related towards breast cancer. You know, certainly, dogs get cancer too. This is really super exciting, and I love seeing these types of tests and this type of data in the literature, and this is just going to get more people excited about developing medicines based on cannabinoids. I love it.
You have anything you want to throw in, Dr. T, before I throw in a couple questions?
Yeah, well, I have a question too. How did the dogs get the emulsified CBD? Did they inject it or did they eat it?
It doesn't necessarily say on the study, but if I was to guess, Dr. T, I'm willing to bet that they had some type of a tincture and they just like dropped it on their tongue. That would be my educated guess or non-educated guess, whatever side of the fence you want to sit on that.
Yeah, this is orally administered. I'm looking at the article right now.
Okay.
Oral.
Yeah. This is great. Of course, usually we test in preclinical studies. We'll test it on animals first and then bring it over to people. And this, unless this is solely intended for dogs with breast cancer, which I doubt. So we're not quite sure what will happen when we give it to people. Although, I think we should move to a phase 1 study here. So that we can start testing it on people. I've always said, we've had lots of evidence in tissue cultures in the petri dish that CBD helps with certain types of breast cancer cells, reducing them. So this is the next step. This is now putting in an animal, then we put it in humans. And what's up, Mark?
I stand corrected. I don't believe it was orally delivered. So
Really?
I'm going to read from the article itself. So it says, on the 7th day after their arrival, the animals began treatment PO gavage. As soon as I see gavage, I'm thinking it's going to be injected, right? Is that right?
No, PO means oral. So
PO means oral. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we got down to the bottom of that.
They might have stuck a tube down and down the throat and
Down the throat. Right. Okay.
Oh,
So,
like Fagua.
like a feeding tube.
Yeah.
So Dr. T,
yeah, it's not, yeah.
so they treat the animals PO gavage with CBD at 2.5 or 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight, or vehicle, which is just the placebo. The doses were selected based on previous pilot studies conducted from our research group. So it sounds like they already had an idea of what dose they wanted to give. So,
What's interesting about that dose is that, for Dravet syndrome or Lennox-Gastaut, that rare seizure disorder in kids, the dose is between 10 and 25 milligrams per kilogram. So this is an order of magnitude lower dose than what we're giving to the kids for seizures. I wonder why they chose the lower dose.
Well, you got to remember, Dr. T, those high amounts are for a rescue medication to stop a seizure, right? They're not maintenance, right? Isn't that correct? So maintenance would be around 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight, where I think you're absolutely right. The rest
they're giving 10 to 25 for maintenance, but you know why they're doing it? It's because it wasn't emulsified, so they're probably they're probably getting
bioavailable,
better bioavailability, at the lower.
So that points to the advance that this paper represents, Jason, which is that the increase in bioavailability means you can dial down the effective dose, as Dr. T is saying. So
interesting.
That's kind of cool.
So, Dr. Mark, Leah Patrick has a question in the chat. She's asking, will agar added to oil-based CBD tincture emulsify it?
No. Yeah. Leah, I know Leah's got some things that she's dealing with. Leah, reach out to me, okay? And we could talk about your particular case. No, so people use things like lecithin. Lecithin's an emulsifier that you can use. Agar is just basically a broth that's filled with nutrients that they use for studying like things in a petri dish, right? So you don't typically use agar, but Leah, reach out to me or something, and we could talk. I could help you with your.
Sweet.
Leah's got some problems in her life that I think I can help her with.
Amazing. And I happen to know
I did something useful.
Yeah, I happen to know a few things about bringing drugs to market, because I'm working with a company that can basically has something that they're working on. Let me just put it to you like that. But we've done the animal trials, and the animal trials are amazing. All right, phenomenal results with the animal trials, and the animal it was with the what type of rats are they? They're like
stars.
No. Tranic rats or something like that.
Transgenic rats?
Yes, transgenic rats. Yes, exactly.
Not
yes.
Transgender rats.
Yeah, you're not I know. I was trying not to go there, Dr. Mark, because I've seen people do that before and whatnot. So I was trying not to go there, but I'm glad you did. Yes. The transgenic mice, and the results were just incredible. And apparently, these researchers have told us that that generally, if it works in these transgenic mice, that 4 times out of 5 times it's going to work for humans as well. And so we were very, we're getting ready to move to that next phase in this project as far as for the human clinical testing on that. But I imagine that since this is working so well in dogs, this is something that ideally can probably be like you were saying, Dr. T, be moved into humans, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's next. Yeah. It's still, usually it takes another 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to satisfy the FDA. So, get ready for the long ride, but at least we're moving forward.
Yep.
What my research is looking at is we would like to use nanoemulsions of different cannabinoids to cross the blood-brain barrier so we could treat traumatic brain injury in the golden hour of trauma with a transnasal delivery of cannabinoids into the brain to help reduce neuroinflammation. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll work, and I think this is something that we think could be useful for the NFL, could be useful for the Department of Defense, and so we're trying to basically get our preliminary data in place so we can ultimately, again, cross and do data in humans, Dr. T. This is, again, a very, very important...
How much are you able to deliver transnasally?
Yeah, so we have a preliminary set of data in mice that shows that we can put CBD and hydrogenated CBD into the brain of mice that's going to be above the Ki for the receptor affinity for the molecule. So we know we're going to be active. We did the original study with a group in Minnesota, and we had to put a radio label on the CBD molecule itself, because then what they do is they sacrifice the mice, then they take slices of the brain of the mice and look to see where the radioactivity goes. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing levels that are above, again, the Ki for the receptor. So we know we're going to see activity. The real question is that going to benefit the patient in the long run in the reduction of neuroinflammation and perhaps all the collateral damage that happens after traumatic brain injury?
And you said preliminary, not to be confused with preliminary.
Yeah, no, preliminary data in mice, because you do all this animal testing in dogs and in mice because you have to do that before you propose doing testing in humans. Even if something as simple as CBD, you're still going to have to go in front of an IRB, which stands for Institutional Review Board, who's basically going to review your study and say, is it ethical to treat humans with this? And that's always going to be predicated on having a whole bunch of animal testing results that show that there's no effect in animals.
Interesting.
Side effects.
Interesting. Well, anything you want to throw in on this, Jesse, before we move on?
Weed kills cancer.
Oh, fair enough. And on that, we'll be right back. Oh, and we are back, you guys. And I have some good news for you guys. Maybe. Good news. Maybe. Just maybe. We'll see. I will say that this person is a friend of mine. I do know this person. So, because President Donald J. Trump's pick for drug czar calls cannabis rescheduling a bipartisan issue. You guys, look at that. Some bipartisanship going on, Dr. Mark. President Donald J. Trump's nominee to lead the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter, said during her Senate confirmation hearing today that cannabis rescheduling is a bipartisan issue. During the hearing, Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, focused his questions on the administration's pending decisions over whether marijuana should move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. Booker, who has sponsored legislation to legalize cannabis nationwide, called rescheduling, in quotes, a step in the right direction. And he reminded Carter that she had spoken favorably about medical marijuana access in 2023 and pointed to testimony from veterans describing cannabis as life-changing for those dealing with PTSD. In a quote, that would finally at least recognize the medical benefits, but it would allow scientists to study the short and long-term health impacts, said Booker. It would open the door to more scientific study, and so I'm wondering, if you were confirmed, how would you advise the American president about the ongoing rescheduling process, he says. Carter, chosen by Trump to lead the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, responded that she considers the matter bipartisan, and she said she intends to lean on data and research in her approach. In a quote, if confirmed as director, I will comply with all federal laws and fulfill all statutory responsibilities of the ONDCP. However, we will continue to work extensively with research and data, and we will continue to do that and explore all options, she says. She added that she has already spoken with Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins about the issue, stressing the administration's commitment to continued research and data that we'll be delivering, and based on that research and data, we can continue to assess, and I think that is vitally important, he said. Booker then criticized existing restrictions that prevent the ONDCP from advocating legalization of Schedule I drugs, saying those limits make it really difficult to advance scientific understanding, and he asked if she would back legislation to simply authorize the office to conduct studies. And she said, I absolutely can, Carter replied, and we will continue to study the impacts of that, she said. The move to Schedule III was initiated under the Biden administration, but was paused by the administrative law judge earlier this year. And on August 11th, President Donald J. Trump said his administration was considering the issue and that a decision would come in the next few weeks, you guys. And we are still waiting on that decision, one way or the other, thumbs up, thumbs down. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Sarah Carter. Congratulations, Sarah. Can't wait to see you sometime soon and have some fantastic conversations around this topic, because I know we've had conversations in the past regarding this, and you have stayed forward on your word that you're all with the medical use side of this, and you think it has some other applicable uses. So I'm happy to see her in this type of a position with someone with an open mind and willing to move this issue forward.
Yeah, but it's a non-answer. She didn't answer the question, whereas they never do.
I thought she did. I thought she did a good, decent job of answering the question. What would you prefer she say?
She's yes, it's a bipartisan. We'll look at the studies, and then people like Smart look at certain studies, and people, who are pro-cannabis look at different studies, and so she can look at whatever studies she wants to come up. But, I'm crossing my fingers that this is positive news.
Well, the fact that she mentioned that she spoke with Doug Collins, who I have advised on this topic in the past and whatnot, and so that tells me that she's moving in the right direction. The fact that she's leaning on Doug Collins, who's the head of the Veterans Administration right now, and OG Grandma in the chat says Sarah Carter favors descheduling, and so does Stephen Miller. Susie Wiles likes Schedule III, and looks like Kim Rivers has the COS's ear. That's Chief of Staff, in case for anyone that's wondering, COS.
Yeah, what I want to say about descheduling and rescheduling is they're not against each other. They're not exclusive. People can favor rescheduling and descheduling, and most people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people just want to see something get done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Jesse, I see you. Your head is, what I'm saying. I can see you wanted to go off on it. You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute.
Yeah, I have smoke coming out of my ears right now.
I can see it.
Well, because anytime something's bipartisan, it's rarely actually good for the American people. Mm-hmm. What it's usually good for is some special interest that's paying both sides of the aisle to get along with their special interest. And I still believe that this is a big pharma play. Mm-hmm. So I think that the cannabis industry, if it goes Schedule III, And I always say this, I hope Dr. T is right, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I turn out to be a total idiot on this subject. That would be great. I will wear my head in shame gladly. But I just think that this is a big pharma play. They're trying to take the industry. This has been a long time coming. They've been watching this for, 30 years now? And they're not ignorant. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They own the medical play always. And I don't think that the people in the cannabis industry are ready for that. I don't think we're savvy enough. I don't think we have enough political understanding, or we don't lobby enough. And the only people who do, who are MSOs, who are also talking very deeply with the big pharma companies. So when it's just like, oh, it's a bipartisan play that, or Schedule 3 is liked in the bipartisan. It's like, oh no. Yeah, it doesn't look good to me.
And I understand Dr. T's kind of stance on this, which is that, anything that helps increase access for patients is a good thing. And I think there, again, is maybe a misconception that somehow Schedule 3, which to me, the best thing about Schedule 3 is they have to admit that there's accepted medical use, right, Dr. T? I mean, that's like moving mountains, right? Oh my God, there's accepted medical use.
And I agree with that, Dr. Mark. I that side of it, that's one of the good arguments for going Schedule 3, is it will actually enact the ability to research this on a monumental level, and it does move it on the scale of at least conceptually from there being no medical use to there being medical use. My only problem with that,
I don't know how it opens up research. I mean, right now, if you want to do cannabinoid, I'm a cannabinoid researcher. I do cannabinoid research. We do kind of play around with the way that the Farm Bill has kind of like made like CBD now available, right? So certainly, like you can look at like 10 years ago, and Dr. T knows this. If you wanted to do anything related to cannabis in a college or a university or even a private company, you needed to have a Schedule 1 license. And if you need a Schedule 1 license, that means you needed to have your research reviewed by an IRB and also approved by NIDA. As you know, NIDA and Nora Volka, or whatever her name is, she's not the biggest advocate of cannabis.
No, she's not. Laura Volkow.
Yeah, right. That person. And, Dr. T knows this. If you wanted to enroll in a study that was going to require a Schedule 1 license, now you're going to get moldy weed from the swag farm down in Old Miss, right? So, I mean, I think the medical program in Pennsylvania, what they tried to do is they tried to partner producers, licensed cannabis grows with the medical hospitals in Pennsylvania, like, Thomas Jefferson University and University of Pennsylvania and UPC out in Pittsburgh and all that. And what ended up happening is they realized that those places were still tied to, you can't do cannabis research with samples that you buy downstairs at the dispensary. You can't bring it upstairs to the research lab and do research, because these labs, these huge hospitals like University of Pennsylvania is reliant on so much government funding that cannabis and cannabinoid research is just such a small inkling of the stuff that they do. And there's no way they're going to risk all of that other research, which heavily relies on government funding, for doing cannabinoid and cannabis research, right? So what I'd like to think of, Jesse, is that, if they do the Schedule 3 move, now, if I'm a cannabis researcher, I should be able to go to my dispensary, buy adult use products, and bring it back to my laboratory without needing any permission from anybody, right? I got permission from my college. That's the only permission I should need. My college says I can do this work. Okay, I should be able to go to the dispensary, buy a product, bring it here and research it. But still, that's problematic with the Schedule 1 substance. So if
And
it's
in that sense, research at this point, it is happening, like you were saying at the beginning of that. But it's like a garden hose, right? It's like it's happening, but it's like very little. And moving to Schedule 3 would like kind of open the floodgates.
Yeah, and what you see at the NIH is now NIDA is still funding a fair amount of cannabis-related research, and it's not all like cannabis is bad. Now they're thinking, Dr. T, you'll love this, they're funding work on cannabis as a replacement for opioids, right? So that falls into the National Institute of Drug Abuse, mission, which is we want to make sure that people aren't addicted to drugs that are going to kill them. And could cannabis basically be, I love this, they used to call cannabis the gateway drug. It's not a gateway, it's the exit drug, right? Dr.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's the way of exiting addiction.
And there's one thing that you said in there that I think is really important for us to consider and really ponder on. And we fall on different sides. A lot of us have different opinions on this, but you brought up patient access, and I think that's where the scary part of this is you could look at this like maybe it's going to increase patient access, which I believe if they somehow leave all the state dispensaries and the state regulations in this gray area, even though they move it to Schedule 3, which I think is unlikely, but it is possible. Then it probably does. It probably does increase. They would have to make a bunch of exceptions, which I find that unlikely.
Because right now there's no herbal Schedule 3 substances. Right. There's no Schedule 3 substances that are being made not at an FDA registered facility with all the, I see Dr. T nodding, with all the GMP, GLP, ISO, yada, yada certification, right? So if they wanted to carve out cannabis as being a different Schedule 3 substance, that way they would be able to
then basically they would be making like a Schedule 3B, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's possible, and I really do hope that happens, and I think that is the optimistic view. And I think that that's possible. I don't think it's something that's way off the table. I think it is possible. However, I'm scared that's not what happens. I'm scared that what does happen is that it goes Schedule 3, and now you have to have an FDA license to manufacture and distribute, and it goes into the pharmacy system only, and nobody's going to be able to get those licenses, and it will immediately shut that down. And also, the manufacturing process for most Schedule 3 drugs and the way they do them, it's not plant material, as you just said. No. So that would also create problems. So then the patient access would actually go way down, like almost to nothing.
You know why I don't think it'll go down? Because I can grow this plant in my backyard. It's the ultimate guerrilla tactic. Nobody's ever going to stop us from growing this plant in our backyard.
I agree with that, but that's what I'm saying, Dr. T, is that the Schedule 3 makes it more that. It would make it more like, well, now we have to do this guerrilla style. Because
now the trap market is going to win.
We're doing it now anyway.
Because the trap market will be cheaper than going to Walgreens or CVS with a doctor's prescription. Right.
And you'll actually be able to get real weed instead of some pill. Right.
Yeah, I don't see anybody stopping smoking trees to all of a sudden start popping pills. I'm not buying that one.
Right.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah. And that's where the open question is, and I don't think any of us know what's going to happen. Yeah. But I think there's an open question there as to what does happen, and it's going to be a big difference in the cannabis industry on the consumer side for medical and recreational, and on the industry side. So whatever does happen will be the deciding factor for how that goes. And that's where Schedule 3 is scary, and we should just really push for descheduling, because then we don't have a question. Then we know exactly what will happen if it deschedules. If it deschedules, then it's kind of like the Wild West, which is what we really want.
Well, I'm just pushing for everyone to put a plant in their backyard.
Me too.
Well, you know,
Dr. T, I'm on that team for sure.
On that point, you guys, Steve Blessingham in the chat, he says, I don't have time to grow weed that I would want to smoke. And a lot of people don't. You know what I mean?
It doesn't take that much time. It takes a little bit of knowledge.
I mean, it takes a decent amount of time, Jesse, if you know what I'm saying.
No. If you grow living soil in the sun, you can grow. It doesn't take almost any time at all. It takes time when you're doing something indoors and you have lights and you have watering systems and you have feeding systems and you're not using soil. Now you're in this whole world where you have to constantly maintain the plants because they're very weak and they're in a state of, like, imagine plugging a human being into a bunch of stuff.
Let me tell you something, bro. When those caterpillars come, Jesse, it's a lot of work, bro.
Not if you have a good compost pile, you have great gardening techniques where you have beneficial plants.
This is all time, bro. This is all factors into that whole time frame that Steve is alluding to, and I happen to agree with Steve on this. You know what I mean? It does take a significant amount of time to be able to make sure that you're caring for something, that you're going to actually get something that you're going to want to actually consume yourself.
If you can grow a tomato plant in your backyard, which most people can, you can grow weed.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing. Caterpillars don't kill tomato plants.
Lots of bugs do, and that is not the major problem.
It is the major problem, bro, because when those caterpillars get there, bro, you have no more buds left.
It's just because you're growing indoor.
No, this is outdoor I'm talking about, Dr. T. I'm talking about outdoor. You don't get caterpillars in indoor situations.
Jason, you're acting like if 100% of people grew outside, that 100% of the time caterpillars would eat 100% of the weed. That's not even close to true.
They do, bro. They're vicious. They're vicious little things.
No, they don't eat 100% of the weed.
They'll destroy your plants.
Every farmer knows that when you grow something agriculturally, you're going to lose probably 20% to pests and things like that. That's the way that it is. You just have to count on that happening.
Shout out to
that's part of growing weed.
Yeah, but if you're only growing one plant, Jesse, and you're going to lose 20% of it, what's the point?
You have to grow 5 plants.
You're gonna get totally, you know, you're gonna lose all interest in that once that happens.
Then you have to make hash at the end. You can't just smoke the whole flower.
Stop it, bro. That's even more. That's taking them even more time now. You're not adding to. You're not trying to. You're not providing solutions for his point.
You're reinforcing a myth that it's super difficult to grow weed, and that is a total myth, and people should not buy into that.
It's difficult. It is.
We're gonna start giving.
It's not difficult.
All right, I'm with that. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all, Dr. T. We're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll in Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your medical marijuana licenses online all the time, every time. It is none other than Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. Lively discussion so far. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So my headline today is from Marijuana Moment. Legalizing medical cannabis is linked to reduced use of tobacco and amphetamines, new international study shows by Kyle Yeager. So there's a strong negative association between tobacco use and legal medical cannabis sales, according to a new international study, indicating a strong potential substitution effect where people choose to use cannabis where it is allowed instead of smoking cigarettes. The study, based on data from 20 countries, also found that amphetamine use is negatively associated with medical cannabis sales, suggesting substitution dynamics. The researchers additionally concluded that a well-regulated cannabis market can generate sustained economic benefits, emphasizing the need for comprehensive legal framework that address licensing, production standards, and access pathways. Adding that removing barriers to access and enhancing consumer education will support the development of a responsible and sustainable market. The analysis also showed a sustained growth trajectory in medical cannabis sales after legalization, finding the policy changes associated with an average annual increase of 26.06 tons of medical cannabis sales in legalizing countries. After excluding the US, which the researchers called a major outlier in the market size, There was a slightly lower average of 20.05, which still supports the persistent market expansion. The authors based in Germany and Lebanon cautioned that given the ecological nature of the design, these studies should be interpreted as population-level associations rather than individual causal effect. Causation, not correlation. Nonetheless, they highlight the potential economic relevance of cannabis legalization in expanding regulated markets and reshaping consumer behavior, the paper says. The study contributes to debates on legalization, public health, and economic policy by providing empirical evidence on the association between legal reforms and market dynamics. The study comes and new research indicating that marijuana use is linked to lower alcohol intake and diminished cravings in heavy drinkers. Now, this is a different study, according to a new federally funded scientific paper. In a study earlier this year, scientists at the University of Sydney published a paper investigating the theory that non-intoxicating cannabidiol could mitigate problematic drinking issues. The research published in the British Journal of Pharmacology found that CBD presents a promising candidate to reduce voluntary alcohol consumption. According to a federally funded study published in journal Nature, CBD has potential to treat alcohol use disorder by reducing withdrawal symptoms and lowering the risk of relapse while also providing neuroprotective effects. The results of that study underscore CBD's potential therapeutic utility for alcohol use disorder and provides mechanistic insights into its action, they noted. This also comes at a time when younger Americans are increasingly using cannabis-infused beverages as a substitute for alcohol, with one out of three millennials and Gen Z workers choosing THC drinks over booze for after-work activities, like happy hours, according to a new poll of 1,000 young professionals. So they're talking about both tobacco, alcohol, amphetamine too, as a substitution. And I want to take a moment to bring up the causation versus correlation issue. For those of us who are in the cannabis industry, this conclusion is not new. As we learn more about drugs, we realize that tobacco and amphetamine are toxic. 50 years ago, we thought the opposite. Cannabis legalization happens to have occurred as we learn the negative effects of these other substances. However, I don't want to suggest that cannabis has caused the decrease of tobacco and amphetamine use. All in all, it's positive news, though. Throughout the world, we're turning to better things like diet, exercise, and cannabis for the sake of health and wellness. So do you know anyone who still smokes cigarettes? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
So we covered this yesterday too, but I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, Dr. T, and as well as Dr. Mark on this study overall.
Well, like I said, it's a correlation, not causation. So, I think people are realizing that cigarettes are bad and stop smoking cigarettes, whether or not we had access to cannabis. Maybe cannabis helps that substitution, but I think that cigarettes use would have gone down either way.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it takes the place of, the sensation of burning a cigarette, right? You're smoking a CBD or a cannabis joint, right? So you're lighting something, you're pulling in smoke. The constituents in the smoke between tobacco and cannabis couldn't be any more different from each other, right? And certainly the addictive powers of nicotine have been proved. So there's a nicotinic receptor that's in your body that basically reacts with nicotine. And once your receptors in your body are used to having that nicotine, when that nicotine is no longer there, guess what? Your body craves it, right? And that's the nature, again, of that whole addiction thing, which is tied also, Dr. T, right, to the dopamine reward system. So I guess maybe when a cigarette smoker lights up a ciggy, they feel, oh, there's that first drag of the cigarette, kind of feel like maybe they don't have to smoke the rest of the cigarette, like that that first drag gives them like that initial hit and that initial placebo effect. I know if I'm in a situation where I have to inhale a lot of cigarette smoke, it affects me. I mean, I could certainly feel the effects of secondhand smoke, or if I'm in a car. I grew up with parents in the back of the station wagon, both smoking parents with all windows up in the car, right? It's like, oh, like I think maybe that's one of the reasons why maybe my generation is less prone to be addicted to tobacco. But the one thing you got to remember is tobacco is one of those dirty industries that lobbies against cannabis use and repealing cannabis prohibition. So smoke up, cigarette smokers. There's billion-dollar corporations that need your filthy habit to fill their coffers with millions of dollars so they can continue spending that, keeping cannabis good and illegal, right? I don't have a soft spot for cigarette smokers or tobacco users at all. They are their filthy habit, their addiction to tobacco is part of the reason why cannabis remains illegal today.
But you also have to factor in the people that smoke blunts, Dr. Mark. And those people have an addiction to tobacco, but they're cannabis consumers.
For those of us who aren't tobacco users, cannabis blunts are absolute just crap.
I agree with you, bro. I agree with you.
Cannabis with your tobacco. That tobacco's got radium and other kinds of freaking chemicals that are applied to it in the field. There is no clean tobacco, right? Tobacco is a dirty, dirty, dirty product. As soon as you put cannabis in it, what? It's supposed to make the tobacco clean?
Well, I think
Stop smoking tobacco.
Well, no, I think Jesse will disagree with you on this one because Jesse smokes spliffs and he smokes like this like super organic tobacco that's like super light. You know what I'm saying? You want to touch on this, Jesse?
I'm in the same boat with nicotine and tobacco that I am with weed right now. Is I'm not going to smoke again until I can grow my own, and I think that's. Where Dr. Mark is right and everything that Dr. Mark is saying is right is the commercialization of tobacco has been a terrible thing. And what they do to tobacco to make it as addictive as possible is terrible. And that's where that quote unquote filthy habit kind of comes in. I think that if you smoke natural tobacco that you grow in your yard, it's a very, very different experience, first of all. And I've been fortunate enough to smoke blunts from tobacco leaves that were grown in someone's yard and were super organic and super natural, and it's a completely different experience than smoking a blunt from some backwoods or Phillies or whatever else you're trying to do. So there's a spectrum here, and I think really what Dr. Mark's referring to is the commercial tobacco, which is an abhorrent kind of industry.
And Jesse, isn't tobacco an insect repellent too? Isn't it good complementary?
Yeah.
With your cannabis.
Yeah, if you grow it, I mean, it's something that repels certain pests if you grow it in your garden, anyways. So yes,
absolutely.
Maybe even caterpillars.
No.
There's a whole class of insecticides called neonicotinoids that are based on nicotine and nicotine type derivatives. And so you're absolutely right, Jesse. If you take like a little bit of like just Red Man, like chewing tobacco, and put it in like a gallon bottle, like a milk bottle, fill that up with water, set that out in the sun for a few days, and what you'll see is that the water starts turning yellow. Use that yellow water as a pest control product, even around things like cannabis, and it's really super effective. It's super effective if you have filth flies in and around like dumpsters and garbage cans. You know how you get all those flies around? Spray that tobacco juice, man. No more flies.
Fair. And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back, you guys.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And if you haven't already gotten a chance to, make sure that you check out our 9/11 special with Congressman Kurt Weldon of Pennsylvania and Congressman Dana Rohrabacher as we bust through all the myths and just let you know the facts of what really happened on 9/11. And please make sure that you share that episode with your friends. We want to grow that video, and I do believe that we are going to do a few more on this topic as well. And so please support us in that effort if you can. Thank you all so much.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app,
where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
Oh man, and we are back. And we're going to roll up to the real Northwest, or excuse me, the Northeast Kingdom, where everything is always greener on that side of the country. We're going to roll right into the Great Lake Champlain area with Dr. Mark Scialdone, where he's researching cannabis, compounds, and all about life and plant life. It is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
All right, Jason, happy Friday, everyone.
Yes.
You're having a great week. I hope you have some great plans for the weekend. It's a beautiful day here in Vermont. Hopefully it's a beautiful day wherever you are. I hope you got cannabis in your weekend plans. So my story today comes from The Marijuana Moment by Kyle Yeager also. And it's Democratic senators say proposal to THC ban would deal a fatal blow to the industry. A coalition of Democratic senators are imploring colleagues, to delay any, derail any attempt to ban all hemp products, including hemp THC, asserting that it would deal a fatal blow to the industry that emerged during President Donald Trump's first term. Agricultural spending that advanced in the Senate was stripped of provisions championed by Senator Mitch McConnell that would have recriminalized marketing of hemp with any quantifiable amounts of THC. Senators Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, and Jeff Merkley, also a Democrat from Oregon, led a letter on Tuesday urging the leadership to resist any effort to revive this proposal. Specifically, they said that the ban would decimate the American agricultural hemp industry and imperil states' abilities to prevent unsafe hemp-derived cannabidiol or hemp-derived cannabinoid products from getting into the hands of children. Why is it they always talk about that? Ooh, the children.
What about the children?
A bunch of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you hear that, you're like, man, that's just bullshit. Okay, we asked to work with you and interested members to protect consumers, and to protect businesses too, by passing effective regulation hemp-derived cannabinoid products instead of passing language that would instantly drive thousands of acres of crop across America, including 3,900 acres in South Dakota, to zero. So I think they're talking about the level of THC, moving that from 0.3% down to zero. The letter says, referring to the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, acknowledging that unregulated hemp cannabinoid market presents safety concerns, the senator said language included in the original bill would recriminalize products currently prolific in the United States without any method to remove them from the stream of commerce. Right? So these things are already available, already out there. And what are they going to do? They're going to shut everyone down? That ain't going to work. Okay. Instead of this hurried attempt that will not achieve its worthy public health and safety goals, the letter outlines alternative options to address the issue. Specifically, the senator said there should be some regulatory framework that prevents the sale of hemp products to anyone over 21, codifies packaging and labeling requirements that prohibit marketing in any way that appeals to youth, bars synthetic or artificially derived products, that would be your derived D9 and Delta 8 and all that, and mandates laboratory testing for consumable products. So, laboratory testing in hemp is kind of hit or miss, right? Some companies do it because they see that as a good foot forward for customer safety. I don't think other companies even give it a thought because it's just an extra expense in their production. Okay, so despite regulatory inaction by the Food and Drug Administration in the years since under the 2018 Farm Bill, the hemp industry flourished and now supports 320,000 American jobs, generates $28.4 billion in regulated market activity, and produces some $1.5 billion in tax revenue, the letter says. The proposed ban from McConnell, remember Mitch McConnell, the guy who put the Farm Bill over the goal line? Well, he's now trying to ban it, folks. Falls short of a real solution, senators wrote. If the language were to become law, it would deal a fatal blow to American farmers who are on the foundation of the regulated hemp industry and jeopardize tens of billions of dollars in economic activity around the country. Let's work together to regulate these products, building on the opportunity for economic growth for farmers while improving consumer safety and protecting kids, instead of recriminalizing a crop to regulate finished products. Recriminalizing cannabinoid products cuts off one leg of the hemp market's stool, right? And if you cut off one leg of a stool, guess what? The stool falls down, right? And will topple over if this language is included in any final spending bill. Okay, so they're not talking about the Farm Bill here, Jason. They're talking about spending bills. So they're talking about appropriations.
Yep. They're putting
appropriations are what the power of the purse that Congress holds that is now appropriating taxpayer funds to carry out various activities that they deem lawful under the law. So consumable hemp products have a significant demand across the country, and it says that even some military veterans suggest that these products have helped reduce the use of opioids. Well, we know from many stories we've covered here at High 9 News that's absolutely true, that veterans are among the most vulnerable populations that need unfettered access to cannabis and high-quality cannabis products. Other signatories on the letter include Senators Angela Albrook, Democrat from Maryland, John Hickenlooper, a Democrat from Colorado. Well, we kind of have a little bit of a checkered past with Senator Hickenlooper, but okay, good to see that he's on board. Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, Michael Bennett, Democrat from Colorado, Martin Heinrich, Democrat from New Mexico, and Chris Van Hollen, other Democrat from Maryland. So meanwhile, a GOP senator recently said that if Congress moves forward with a proposal to ban hemp products with any amounts of THC, nobody is going to buy remaining CBD preparations because, in a large part, even a little bit of the intoxicating cannabinoid makes a big difference in health effects. Dr. T, I know that you and I are aligned on that, right? So we feel that, again, whole plant medicine is really what patients and what consumers need. And so, yeah, a little bit of THC can go a long way in some of these CBD products. So I think, yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, has made it abundantly clear that he is opposed to any blanket on hemp ban of THC-containing products that have been proposed in both chambers this session. While he's in favor of increasing regulations for hemp market, is outright against the prohibition that would be disastrous to the industry to ban all hemp-derived THC products. Paul said last month that he plans to meet with House lawmakers to reach a compromise on an approach to regulate hemp in light of his opposition to the THC proposal. Part of that compromise, he said, is to address concerns that he and other stakeholders have about the vague language that leaves it up to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services under Secretary Robert F. Kennedy to determine what constitutes a quantifiable amount. Without specifications, the worry is that essentially all consumable cannabinoid products will end up being recriminalized, which is not what anybody wants. Paul successfully prevented the ban from being incorporated into the Senate Agricultural Spending Bill recently passed by the body, with the senator pushing for regulations that he said would promote public safety while preserving the hemp industry that has proliferated since the crop was made federally legal under the 2018 Farm Bill, a reform that Senator McConnell played a key role in advancing. McConnell has contested the idea that legislation he sponsored would completely destroy the market, as Paul and industry stakeholders have insisted. He ultimately agreed to pull the language from the agricultural bill following Paul's procedural protest. Meanwhile, Paul recently filed a standalone bill that would go in the opposite direction of the hemp ban, proposing to triple concentration of THC that the crop can legally contain while addressing multiple other concerns about the industry that has been expressed in some of these proposed federal regulations. So let's stop there for a minute and consider that. So they're talking about tripling the threshold. So right now the threshold's at 0.3%. 0.3 times 3 would basically be 0.9, or basically 1%. So they want to move that distinguishing feature of 1% being now the line in the sand between industrial hemp and what we're calling medical cannabis. I think Hawaiian Sustainable in the chat likes that move. And I think a variety of other people like that move. I think moving it up to 1% would certainly do a lot of people good. So the senator introduced legislation titled Hemp Economic Mobilization Plan, or the acronym HEMP. Oh, that's cute, right? In June. It mirrors versions he sponsored over the last several sessions. A Representative Andy Harris, Republican from Maryland, who championed the hemp THC ban in his chamber version of the agricultural spending legislation, told Marijuana Moment that he wasn't concerned about any potential opposition to the hemp ban in the Senate. He also disputed reports about the scope of his legislation and what it would do to the industry. Congressional Research Service, CRS, has released a report in June stating that the legislation would effectively prohibit hemp-derived cannabinoid products such as hemp-derived D9, which is in a lot of those beverages that you're finding in states like Oklahoma and Minnesota. Initially, it said that such a ban would prevent the sale of CBD as well, but the CRS report was updated to exclude that language for reasons that are unclear. The hemp language is largely consistent with appropriations and agricultural legislation that was introduced and ultimately enacted under last Congress. Hemp industry stakeholders rallied against the proposal of an earlier version, which included the base bill with the THC ban from subcommittee last year. It's a virtually identical version to the 2024 Farm Bill that was reviewed by a separate committee last May, and via the Mary Miller amendment, which again just would say that all THC, whether it's natural from hemp or whether it's CBD that's been converted, would be banned. And that's one of the reasons why that bill basically failed and was not enacted into law. Leading Alcohol Industry Association, meanwhile, has called on Congress to dial back language in the House's spending bill that would ultimately ban most consumable hemp products. Gee, I wonder why the alcohol industry wants to ban all hemp products, including that popular category that we referred to in Dr. T's story about the hemp-derived beverages, right? Jason, we know that market is just absolutely taking off, and it's taking market share from the alcohol industry, and that's why you see certain players in the alcohol industry crossing over that line and playing in that market as well. Instead of proposing maintaining the legislation of naturally derived cannabinoids as opposed to chemically derived cannabinoids, crop and only synthetic things would be banned under that. So Wine, Spirits, and Alcohol Wholesalers of America, or WSWA president and CEO Francis Creighton, said in a press release that proponents and opponents alike have agreed to the language that amounts basically in a ban. So that's interesting. We got the alcohol people fighting against each other. Some alcohol people want it, some alcohol people don't. I'll bet that the ones that want it are in the space, right? Making money, right? Go figure, right? Anyway, that's my story today. And yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of the same kind of stuff over and over again. You get, people on both sides of this issue. I think this Andy Harris bill is dead on arrival. I'm glad that Rand Paul is speaking in, and sounds like Rand Paul is setting his other senator colleague, Mitch McConnell, who, come on, Mitch McConnell, it's time for him to go out to pasture, right? I mean, is there a retired turtle farm that would take him? Let's hope so.
Oh, man.
All we know is this guy went into his Senate position making $200,000 a year, and he's retiring a multi-billionaire. Probably due to his wife and her shipping industry, but God knows what. I mean, all of these senators end up becoming billionaires during their time in the Senate. So, but a good thing that Rand Paul is speaking up. I'd be interested in what everybody else has to say. What I'd like to do, in fact, Jason, you'll love this. There's a group in Colorado now that's legislating towards a one plant solution. It's all one plant, people. It's all cannabis. Whether it's hemp on the hemp side or whether it's regulated cannabis, it's all the same plant. So again, there is basically a lobby, and we're basically producing now a white paper to basically convince Congress needs to regulate this under a one plant thing. Now, maybe again, this increase in the legal amount of THC that's in hemp will help a lot of producers. It'll probably put more psychoactive products on the market. It seems like there's still a considerable swath of Congress that does not want any psychoactive products from cannabis, but you know, it's all one plant, people. So anyway, that's my story today. Happy Friday. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. I'd be interested in what my other correspondents have to say about this. Again, it's the same old dance, Jason.
You know, Dr. Mark.
Back and forth. Yeah.
Dr. Mark, you know what I have to say in regards with this, buddy, is basically and I just threw it in the chat, is the one plant solution to me is simply them removing the THC definition in the Farm Bill. That's the one plant solution. We already have the solution. We just need to remove the THC language definition in the Farm Bill, and all of a sudden we have a one plant solution, Dr. Mark. It's pretty easy.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean take away the percentage?
Yeah, remove the 0.3 THC designation definition in the Farm Bill. If they remove that, because under the Controlled Substances Act, it's all defined as cannabis sativa L. So therefore, cannabis would be legalized by default just by removing that single verbiage in the 2018 Farm Bill.
I 100% agree with you. It's math. Like, we need to teach our congressional leaders math. Percentage is a ratio. It's not a limit. There's no limit to ratios. You can go as high as you want or as low as you want. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Ratios are not limits. Limits are limits. Ratios are ratios. So stop using ratios to think that you're creating limits. They need to go back to math class. This is high school math.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, the other thing, Dr. T, that, I mean, again, as soon as so the whole plant might be, like, let's say they are successful at moving this to 1%, or, for all purposes, keep it at 0.3. As soon as you take the top off of that plant is no longer 0.3. As soon as you extract that plant, that extract no longer 0.3, right? Now you extract that. So like if you take a typical hemp plant that is 0.3, it's like let's say we have a 20-to-1, so nice type 3 type cannabis, 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio. When you extract that, in the extract, you're going to have close to about 3 or 4% THC. So you're going to go up in order of magnitude. Well, guess what happens as soon as you make distillate? Now you go up maybe another, not quite order of magnitude, but now you'll take something, and now you're going to take something that's maybe like 1 or 2 or 3%, and now all of a sudden you're going to have 8 or 9% THC. Well, guess what happens when you start crystallizing CBD from that distillate? The amount of THC in the distillate goes up. The distillate fraction after you start removing a CBD isolate from it, we call it mother liquor. All right, get your mind out of the gutters. No one's.
I love that word. It's one of my favorite words in cannabis. Yeah, yeah. You just grab it from your mother liquor.
Mother liquor, like the liquor, like black liquor or something like that.
Let you tell it, Dr. Mark.
So what happens is the amount of THC every time you pull a CBD crop of crystals, that ratio changes. And so what started as 20-to-1 in the plant, in the extract, goes to about maybe 6-to-1, goes to 3-to-1. Before you know it, you have so much THC. So if you look at the amount of hemp, and so the amount of hemp grown for floral hemp in 2024 was 20.8 million pounds. If you take 0.3%, so if all of that 20.8 million pounds was analyzed at 0.3%, 0.3% of 20.8 million pounds is 62,000 pounds of THC. So even at 0.3%, 62,000 pounds, let's do the math. Take that 62,000 pounds, multiply it by 454, that's how many grams in a pound. That'll tell you how many that'll tell you how many grams of THC. Now, if you divide that in half, that'll tell you how many half-gram vape pens you can make. And let me tell you something, it's 1 million vape pens. So even at 0.3%, Dr. T, that's a lot of THC because there's a lot of hemp being grown, right?
Yeah.
So
there's no
that'll move that to 1%, and you're going to have a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't even know my point I was making. I guess the point is that even at such a small amount, there's still a lot of THC being produced.
I think your point, Dr. Mark, was to respect the mother liquor.
Mm-hmm.
well,
your mother.
yes. Listen to your mom. Listen to your moms, everybody. Well, this was fascinating. I was really glad to hear your guys' takes on this. Did you have any other things you wanted to throw in relation on this, Dr. T?
I wanted to add one other thing.
Sure.
I think the play between Paul and McConnell here is an epic. Right?
Well, Rand Paul. Well, Rand Paul called for everyone to call their senators and whatnot and Congress members to help push this back, and he is under the impression that it very well could go to where they're creating some type of blockage on these types of products or whatnot within this appropriations bill. So he does want everyone, and we want to encourage everyone to make sure that they're calling their senators and urging them to vote in that manner and remove any language that would create any type of hindrance of these products. And so that is a reality overall. But the fact that it's the two senators from Kentucky, I think is kind of more of the bigger thing, Dr. Mark, is the fact that Kentucky is like one of the largest hemp producing states in the entire nation, and then you have this backdoor fight between Marijuana Mitch and Senator Rand Paul. So I do find it super interesting. But these guys need to get it. Mitch McConnell is getting ready to retire. I don't even understand why he's trying to push so hard on this. He's getting ready to go out of the door, like you said, and we need some new blood in the Senate overall. But the Senate is the most powerful group in the government overall because their election cycle is only every 6 years. And a third of the senators
comes up from Hawaii too. So
yeah,
thank you, Hawaii. We finally agree.
Look at this. Look at that. Every dog has his day, Dr. Mark. And on that,
lots of respect, Hawaii.
Yes, and on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where do I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yes. And coming up next, it is Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co. that can help bring your brands to the highest plateau, higher than you ever thought you could get when you smoke Delta 8. That's right, it is none other than Jesse Barney.
But I do not advise smoking Delta 8.
No, but
at all.
Yeah, that shit'll mess with your brain, bro.
Yeah. No good. My story comes out of an interesting UPI.com. I don't even know what that is. But I do know about this story, the influx of illegal marijuana linked to Chinese criminal networks. States including Oklahoma, New Mexico, Maine, and Oregon are grappling with an influx of illegal marijuana linked to Chinese criminal networks, raising national security concerns and straining local law enforcement resources, lawmakers said Thursday. Quote, they entered this country for these home-grow operations. Hundreds of pounds of illegal contaminated marijuana is introduced to the hands of people all over the United States, from Oklahoma to New York, unquote, said Josh Breachin, representative Republican out of Oklahoma, chairman of the House Homeland Security Oversight, Investigations, and Accountability Subcommittee. A committee hearing Thursday focused on how China is growing illegal marijuana in multiple states and how that is tied to larger criminal networks, including Mexican cartels. From what he said he witnessed in his home state, Breachin provided a scenario of the operation. Quote, a group of Chinese nationals affiliated with foreign criminal organization crosses the southern border and makes their way through rural areas. With them are bodies of workers who have been murdered under the false promise of good jobs in the United States, unquote. According to Breachin, once the nationals reach Oklahoma, they approach local residents with the opportunity to join on the marijuana farm, offering higher pay than jobs they may have, which he believes is seen as an offer they cannot refuse. Donnie Anderson, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics director, said that with Oklahoma's approval of medical marijuana, the industry has overloaded the state. In one instance, a single Oklahoman was listed as the owner of approximately 300 marijuana farms in Oklahoma. Fraud is facilitated by consulting firms, real estate agents, and attorneys who helped establish and scale operations, Anderson said. From March 2024 to March 2025, licensed growers reported more than 7.2 million plants, while dispensaries sold roughly 1.6 million pounds, according to Anderson. This left tens of millions of plants unaccounted for, which Anderson linked to illegal Chinese operations. These marijuana operations, Anderson said, have been linked to violence, including execution-style murders, theft, human trafficking, and other criminal activity. Beyond these murders, state authorities have documented a sharp rise in violent crime linked to black market marijuana operations masquerading as legal enterprises, he said. Investigators face obstacles during investigations, such as conversing with Chinese nationals due to language barriers. An additional obstacle is the use of Chinese-owned platforms, such as the messaging application called WeChat, a highly popular application in China. Although users can download it in the United States, they need a referral from an existing user, most are in China, and some may face restrictions if using the payment system, since it can only be linked to Chinese bank accounts. Quote, U.S. law enforcement cannot serve legal process or conduct electronic surveillance as we would with domestic platforms. WeChat falls outside the scope of the Communications Act of 1996 and the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, Anderson said. Also, some marijuana sites have been established near sensitive infrastructure, including military bases and pipelines, raising both public safety and national security concerns, according to Anderson's testimony. For example, in an ongoing investigation, the Department of Defense has reported suspicious activity at a marijuana grow operated by an ethnic Chinese group located adjacent to the McAllister ammunition plant, Anderson said. This ammunition plant is the largest in the United States that is also responsible for manufacturing the massive ordnance air blast bomb and houses close to 1/3 of the Department of Defense's munitions stockpile. That's interesting. Paul Larkin, a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, proposed that Congress create and fund a permanent interagency federal task force led by the Drug Enforcement Administration, Homeland Security investigations and the FBI, and involving state law enforcement partners to target and dismantle transnational marijuana growth house networks. Task force funding would employ essentially a platform of these federal agencies combined with subject federal experts, translators with various Chinese dialects, Larkin said. In using Oklahoma as an example, he suggested bringing in data scientists and target funding to recruit confidential sources and to coordinate with state criminal prosecutors. While experts focused on long-term solutions utilizing federal enforcement, Representative Delia Ramirez raised concerns about immigration and customs enforcement. And the last part of this article really just goes into ICE and how she's concerned about ICE being used to raid these things and shut these things down, which to me is nuts. So this story has been going on and on. We've been noticing in the industry, and we know, especially anybody who's growing on the quote unquote black market or legacy market, they know that nationwide, these Chinese grows are driving down prices to $200, sometimes $100 a pound. And it's just really bad. So what I think this is really all about is what this guy from the Heritage Foundation talked about, Mr. Larkin, which is creating a task force. And I think that's just the worst possible answer. Instead of creating a task force that's got to run around and operate, this is exactly what Anslinger did. Let's just make it more illegal and make a task force and go arrest people. That's not going to work. What needs to happen is we need to just remove the incentive. And you remove the incentive by making cannabis actually legal so that people who are Americans don't face the obstructions that they face, that someone who just chooses to grow illegally, who's from another country, has no obstructions. They're just going to do whatever they want because they don't care. They're not trying to obey any kind of laws or be a productive citizen. They are here to rape, kill, pillage, and destroy. So that is what I find it really amazing that in this whole article that's not even mentioned or proposed, that just removing the incentive for these Chinese grows to even be here in the first place would be the answer. Instead, we should create a task force that basically utilizes all modern surveillance techniques and combines all the Drug Enforcement Administration, Homeland Security, the FBI, and state law enforcement, and allows them to spy even deeper on people. That's not the answer to me. So, but I would love to hear what you guys have to say and toss it over to my fellow correspondents.
Oh man, China. This is China is a big problem, you guys. It's a big problem. I know a lot of people don't like talking about it, but we're gonna keep talking about it as long as it's a problem. You know, there was one state, I don't remember which one, but they just recently passed legislation banning China from owning farmland, which I think is a good thing. But my big question on all this, Jesse, because I've been to China before, and I've tried going on different applications in China. And they have a total block on them. You can't even access them when you're in China. So I don't understand why the U.S. hasn't done something similar to WeChat and is allowing for WeChat to even operate here while they're here in the U.S. That makes absolutely no sense. No sense at all whatsoever. They're enabling this communication platform by allowing WeChat to be able to work on our servers here in the United States.
I mean, that's one prong of it. Why are they also allowing foreign nationals to buy real estate in our country, and then real estate that's obviously that the neighbors are reporting, hey, this is just like a weed grow. We can smell the weed. We can smell what's going on. There's traffic. There's cartel members showing up. These things are so obvious, and we're just allowing this at a breakneck rate. And I'm not trying to say that, you know, people from other countries shouldn't be able to buy property here. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there seems to be this wide open it's super easy for them to do. That doesn't make sense to me, when someone from a foreign country can just buy a property and then just do whatever they want with it, and suddenly you have a giant marijuana grow. And now, even in this article, next to military bases, it's like where there's no regulation, no thought about this, but we live in a world where if you write the wrong Facebook post, they'll show up on your door.
Mm-hmm. That's happened a lot in the United Kingdom right now.
What's going on here?
All right, so there's a couple things going on that I'd like to share on this, and so first of all, Chinese immigrants are hardworking people. A lot of them are, right?
Yep.
And what I can tell you is similar to having a pizza parlor in northern New Jersey or the New York metropolitan area. That is all governed by mob territories, right? You're basically a front for the mob, right? So, and Chinese, it's almost the same thing with Chinese restaurants, right? So when you look at Chinese restaurants, and we love Chinese food, right? Americans in general love Chinese food, right? And so Chinese food restaurants are in various cities, and certainly other Oriental persuasions like Thai, and we have great Vietnamese food here in Burlington. And what I can tell you is that in Maine, in particular, because this is the one story I covered, I think, on a previous High at 9, is that there were Chinese immigrants who were over here running restaurants, right, and making money, and they look at cannabis as just being another money-making opportunity. So here was a guy who had like 3 or 4 Chinese restaurants in a larger city in Maine, who's like, hey, I can make some money on the side making cannabis? Sure. So he got his family involved. And next thing you know, there's like, all these Chinese nationals are growing weed in Maine and all this stuff. It's like, no, they're over here making a living, running restaurants. We love Chinese food, right? So they're out here making a living, and they're like, hey, I can make a couple bucks on a side hustle growing some cannabis. So they start growing cannabis. Next thing you know, the 5 o'clock news comes in there. They bust the cannabis grow. There's a bunch of Chinese nationals in there. Oh my God, Chinese cartel. Not everything's a fucking cartel, people. Okay. It's just people looking to make money. Okay. And again, I don't know why the Chinese guy would be any different than any other ethnic persuasion. Okay, there's a Polish restaurant, there's an Ethiopian restaurant. Guy wants a side hustle. He wants to start growing weed and making. That doesn't necessarily.
I can tell you that. So you are right to some degree, Dr. Mark, in the sense that yes, there are some amazing Chinese immigrants that have come here and have acclimated here in America and do provide valuable things that all Americans benefit from. I totally agree with you on that. But at the same time, there's a lot of bad Chinese people that are here that are working on behalf of the CCP. I mean, we've seen stories where there have been police stations that have been set up, Chinese police stations set up in different cities across the country to basically police and monitor the Chinese in these things to make sure that they're providing information to the CCP directly. And since China is one of our number one enemies on a global scale, that is a serious problem.
It's not a video game. We're not playing a video game.
Fried pork dumplings are worth it.
Fried pork dumplings are not worth the freedom that we have in America. That's cute, though.
There's no teams. It's not like we're playing a game of Risk here. Globalization. I mean, these borders are fake borders. So
no way. You never seen Blow?
I'm particularly more worried about the English foreign nationals and all the illegal activity that the English foreign nationals are doing, and I'm worried about the French foreign nationals and all the illegal activity that the French foreign nationals are doing. Let's name every country.
Well, that's because of that whole.
I agree with Jesse. The word is. Take the word Chinese out of there and just put foreign nationals. That's
I'm fine with that.
In this case, though, Dr. T and Dr. Mark, this is not just something that's written in this story. If you talk to any grower who's growing on the underground right now, they all know that for some reason there happens to be, and I don't know all the reasons, I don't know that anybody does, but we do know that the Chinese triads, which is a literal giant cartel, is existing on a very huge scale, like a massive scale in America. They've bought tons of farmland, they've bought tons of residential properties, and they are exclusively almost growing cannabis and undermining the entire cannabis market. Like, this is a thing that every grower knows they're struggling to sell their weed for even $300 a pound. And the reason that's happening is because of these Chinese operations, and everybody knows it. So it's not just we're not just trying to target them. We know that this is happening, and it's happening nationwide. This is happening in Maine, it's happening in New York, it's happening in Oklahoma, it's happening in California, it's happening in every state. So there's a massive operation happening, and we can't just ignore it. We have to like acknowledge that something big is going on, and it's harming our country. There's murders, there's because when any time that you have something this dark and this underground, there's human trafficking that happens, there's murder that happens, there's other drugs that start getting run alongside. And then what ends up happening is you're able to blame cannabis as the gateway to all this stuff. So somehow we've got to stand up.
We have to literally nip it in the bud, Jesse.
Exactly. Somehow as a country, we have to say, hey, there's got to be a way to stop this. And I think one of the ways is, first of all, to make it very difficult for a foreign national, any foreign national, whether they're Chinese or anybody else, to buy property.
I totally agree with that.
Do whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm worried about the English foreign nationals. I think percentage-wise, they're taking over.
I mean, yeah, but Dr. T, in comparison,
well, remember, they're the ones who came in and they were the enemy originally, right? So I don't know, maybe they've already taken over.
I mean, well, just let me just throw this out there.
Watch out for them.
Let me just throw this out there.
All those luxury properties in Miami and Los Angeles and New York, those are all foreigners.
Let me just throw this out there.
Americans can't afford
and how about Jeffrey Epstein? Where's he from? Where's Jeffrey Epstein from? I don't think he's Chinese.
He's Florida.
Well, but that's a different topic.
That's a whole nother. Yeah,
because we're talking specifically about a Chinese cartel that is here, that is operating a massive organized crime industry in our country. That's specifically what's happening, and it's specifically impacting the cannabis industry in a really big way. And we can't just ignore it.
What happens if prohibition goes away? What happens if the black market goes
That's what
away?
I said. That's what I said at the beginning. I said the way to fix this is to remove the impetus and the what they're going after, which is to make money at all. And unfortunately, that I understand that would also hurt the industry, right? If everybody's growing everywhere in everybody's garden, what happens to cannabis is it becomes like the price of lettuce.
It's an agricultural commodity, yeah.
And when it becomes an agricultural commodity that everybody grows in their backyard, it's no longer worth it for anyone to grow it.
Well,
and I get that. That's rough. Yeah, we're growing it personally for medicine, and that's a very different thing. It would just change the industry dramatically, and it would make it so that only people who are able to scale to millions of acres of growing would be able to make any money. So I understand all that, and unfortunately, that's kind of the way it's got to go. Is we've got to remove the incentive. I think that is the answer. You don't create a task force and try to remove all of these people. That's not going to work, right?
Remove the incentive, but keep the dumplings.
Well, that's what would happen if you remove the incentive for the weed. The people don't go anywhere. In fact, they probably could focus more on the restaurants and stop trying to grow weed.
Fair enough. Well, we've spent a significant amount of time on this, and we're going to keep this train rolling. We have one final story for you guys, and I think I found a happy story to end us on a Friday, you guys. I think so. Something that we might all be able to agree on, possibly. We'll see. no promises, because there was another study, you guys, a lot of studies going on today, but cannabis use is linked to lower stress and improve sleep for veterans with PTSD. That's right. Researchers from King's College in London, New York University, and the University of Southern California, and the University of Washington have found that cannabis use can ease stress and improve sleep for U.S. military veterans living with post-traumatic stress disorder, better known as PTSD. The study, published in the Journal of Psychology of Addictive Behaviors, as well as published online by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, tracked 74 recently separated veterans with elevated PTSD symptoms over a 3-month period. That's 90 days. Participants provided daily reports through a mobile app, not WeChat, totaling more than 4,300 person days of data. Researchers measured hours of sleep spent high, and then PTSD symptoms, perceived stress, and sleep quality. In a quote, day-to-day analysis revealed that elevated PTSD symptoms and poor sleep quality each predicted greater perceived stress the following day. The study states greater the number of hours high was associated with less perceived stress the following day. Perceived stress, in turn, predicted both higher PTSD symptoms and poorer sleep quality. And according to the researchers, in post hoc analysis, stress emerged as a significant mechanism of change in the day-to-day lagged model. In particularly, we show greater cannabis use is linked to improved sleep and PTSD symptoms through lower perceived stress. And the study concludes by saying cannabis may offer temporary relief and appears to interrupt the day-to-day cycle, linking PTSD, stress, and poor sleep, you guys. Well, this is a great way to end the day on a Friday. The fact that we're talking about our veterans, it's POWMIA Day, and hopefully maybe cannabis can help them get some well-deserved rest. What do y'all got to say about this?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean,
King's College in England did a study of U.S. military people.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, we do have U.S. military in the U.K.
Well, is this the study that Sue Cicely couldn't do because she's here in the U.S.?
I don't know about that, but there's a number of U.S. universities that also participated in it. It says researchers from King's College in London, New York University, the University of Southern California, the University of Washington. As far as the universities that participated in this study.
Where did the weed come from?
Well, if it's the weed in the UK, we know that came from
probably
Canada.
Germany.
Yeah, maybe Germany, but probably Canada though.
Germany or Canada.
But I'm willing to bet that the other weed probably came from within state.
Somebody's backyard.
I don't know about that. I mean,
no, I bet Dr. T, there is national trade going on between several G8 countries. Canada and Germany have been doing it for like 10 years or more, I think now. And the UK has been involved in that. They have had some they've had their fingers in that trade going on. So I bet it is between Canada and Germany. There's something going on there.
Any thoughts, Dr. Mark?
He's hungry.
Yeah, he's hungry. He's getting it. Man.
Skinny pops.
Yep.
No, I mean, I think we know that, we said earlier, the veterans are among the most vulnerable populations that needs cannabis for a variety of reasons, like this PTSD. But no, I mean, again, I don't know. Does Schedule 3 change that, Dr. T? So if things are moved to Schedule 3, that now we could actually do that study now? Like Sue Cicely's kind of work?
No, because, because the FDA is, if we're talking about FDA studies, until the FDA is able to study plants, which they're not, I don't think any changes in scheduling will help. I think the issue is the ability to descheduling would help study plans, but and not going through the FDA unless the FDA changes their methods of studying plans. They can't. They're bad at it
because they only study molecules, right?
They only study molecules, and when you've got 30, 40 molecules that you're looking at, you got to prove every single one of them is how they're working and how they're interacting with the other one. It's just a rabbit hole that you never come out of.
Well, wait, so they do have what they call dietary supplements, right? So we know from our story that we covered on this last year, Dr. T, that the Charlotte's Web people brought human clinical data to the FDA, trying to get them to petition to turn cannabis into a dietary supplement. I think it was just mostly CBD, so it was hemp, right? They were trying to get listed as a dietary supplement.
Yeah, it was hemp.
Certainly that is a regulatory mechanism to have in place. But I think, like what Dr. T said, it's kind of loosey-goosey. You know, you ever watch these commercials for this stuff called Prevagen?
Yep.
We talked about this. We've talked about this, right? This jellyfish protein that people eat, supposedly it makes their memory. All of a sudden, they can remember shit.
And jellyfish don't even have a brain.
Well, what I could also tell you, well, neither do the people who are buying this shit, because it's all placebo effect. Because when you eat protein, like when I'm eating protein in this popcorn, right? Protein goes into my gut, and my gut, which is the pH of 2, very, very acidic conditions down in your gut, basically digests protein and turns it into amino acids. So how is eating Prevagen, which is this aquaporin protein that's isolated from jellyfish, how you take this, it gets digested, it never makes it to your brain. So, and that product has generated almost $1 billion in sales since they introduced it. Because it's a dietary supplement, we don't know if it works. None of the claims are FDA approved. And it's interesting, Dr. T, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the commercials for this, but they'll show a pharmacist in a white coat, some old guy, right? Like, oh, when my patients come in, I steer them to Prevagen. Prevagen is, in fact, Prevagen was sued by the FTC for false advertising because they have no clinical data whatsoever. But you go to the Prevagen Facebook page, you'll see all these people. Oh, I've been taking this for 9 years. Oh, I've been taking this. I've been taking it. You know, and they take it. It doesn't work at all. It's all placebo effect. But you know, this company is making millions, if not billions, of dollars selling it. There you go. Prevagen.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Prevagen. This episode has been brought to you by Prevagen. Your favorite jellyfish. Yes, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.